Welcome to another episode of the Show. We're two geeks who talk about everything. My name is Aaron, and I'm joined as always by my cousin Landon.
Good day.
All right, guys, today we have something special for all the Metroid fans out there
Oh,
because we're going to dive deep into the world of Samus Aran and her adventures through space and planets and Zepatite crystals and mother brains and Ridley's and I don't know.
before you
The
get
Metroid
into,
franchise is just
hold on, hold
awesome.
on, hold on. Before you get into what you've well written in eloquence, I've got to say this real quick. If
Go
there
for it.
is one thing that I think about when in the long history of our friendship, cousinship, and all that, it's you and me in my backyard at an early age fighting against Mother Brain,
Mm-hmm.
Captain Power against
Captain
Mother
N.
Brain. What? Captain N. Captain Power
Captain
was,
N.
sorry, what was
Captain
Captain Power?
Power was a different thing.
Sorry, you're right. Captain N. Nintendo, right? Captain N with the Power Glove against Mother Brain. And it was like a Metroid-esque Nintendo frenzy of like imagination in my backyard, vanquishing the forces of Mother Brain's evil sense. So this subject is not just simply, hey, Metroid's cool. This is, although Super Metroid is incredibly cool, but this spans the history for you and I, buddy.
Yeah. Metroid is if so this is off script. If you're asking me, I think that Metroid is the unsung hero of Nintendo properties. Because I mean obviously Mario is what you think of when you think of Nintendo. But then, after that you probably go Legend of Zelda, Pokemon, Smash Brothers, things like that. People don't automatically go to Metroid as a standby for classic gaming with Nintendo, as or even as a franchise that has stood the test of time, even though it has.
Yeah, yeah,
We're talking about a game that was introduced in 1987
yep,
and has had sequels and spin-offs up until last year
right. But
with
no movie and
no
no
movie,
show.
no TV show.
No,
Samus showed up in one episode of Captain N, the Game Master,
right.
that cartoon that we just briefly mentioned. And of course, Mother Brain was the big bad of that show as well. And Mother Brain is the big bad of Metroid and Super Metroid, and is often the at least mentioned in other Metroid games. Um, yeah, I don't know why it is that Metroid doesn't get the same kind of love that those
Mario.
other franchises get.
Well, I do think that you go through you look at things, and Mario is I mean, that's a fun game that anybody can love, right? I mean, and it's just very one and done, kind of like it's not plot intensive, and so when you get into plot intensive and you look at Legend of Zelda, and of course what's happened with Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, for all that, you think Nintendo, you think Mario, you think Nintendo, you think Link from Legend of Zelda, you know,
Mhm.
maybe you'll think Donkey Kong, you know what I mean? That's fun and spunky and fun. You'll think about like, Mario Kart, or you'll think about Super Smash Brothers. I mean, so you're thinking about these fun one and done kind of things for those. And if you're getting depth, you're thinking about the epic journey of Link and Legend of Zelda. Metroid, though, is its own sci-fi Ridley from Alien. I mean, it's so like Alien, it's so like that kind of world from the 1987. When did Alien come out? That was like 1984 or something like that.
70, no,
Was
the
it
first
earlier?
Alien in like 70, I want to say 79.
79. And then Aliens came out in early 80s, right?
Aliens came the sequel came out in 86, I think.
So when I think like Ridley Scott, and I'm thinking like Alien and aliens and that genre and that world
Mhm.
and that mindset. And the first Alien game, or the first Metroid game, I should say, it's not like it's not like Super Metroid. Super Metroid was heavily plot intensive, right? And Metroid is like you've got to go to different places and you've got a small plot because it's a Nintendo system. I mean, for heaven's sake. But like, still, it's sci-fi. Sci-fi in a way that had not ever been experienced that I know of in such capacity as Metroid, right?
Video game now.
So it's
Uh,
like it's its own genre and it completely goes in a different world comparatively.
I think you may have just nailed down why it is not as well known, I guess, as some of those others. Because you think about those other franchises, they're very family friendly. You can like all ages. Your 4 year old can pick up Super Mario Odyssey and learn how to play it and not be exposed to something horrible or scary. But you pick up Metroid and I mean, you've got creatures coming out of nowhere. The music, especially when you get like into Super
The
Metroid and
music. Oh,
you've got some like serious horror movie vibes from some of these the just compositions that they put into this world. Um and you're right. Like there's so many I guess like it takes so much from the Alien franchise. You've got Ellen Ripley, who is the lone woman standing against the alien threat. Uh, and here you've got Samus Aran, the lone woman standing against this alien threat. And I mean, they named Ridley the dragon looking bad guy, like mini boss fight. Name I mean, you named him after Ridley Scott. I mean, I mean, if that's not an homage to Alien, I don't know what is.
I really seriously, Ridley as the Dragon-esque bad guy, and then Ridley Scott is just hilarious to me. I mean,
Yeah.
do you remember what it was like when you played and you realized Samus was a girl? And
Until the end.
not until the end, right? But it's like, it's the funniest thing about that is as much as we live or have lived or still live, depending upon what feminists you speak with, in a male chauvinistic privileged society, like to find out that Samus Aran was a girl was not like what? It was more like awesome. I felt like Chris Farley being like, that was awesome. You know what I mean? It
Yeah,
was like incredible. It was like
that's
Ellen
cool.
Ripley. It was like,
It's
yes.
it's one of the most iconic twists in video game history
Oh,
because I remember when I got Metroid. That was one of the first games I bought after I got my Nintendo, right? And I remember you get a little booklet, an instruction booklet that comes with the game
right.
that doesn't
Right.
really give you a whole lot of
Nothing.
instruction,
No.
but it did have like a brief like one
Bio.
paragraph story
Yeah.
that told you like Samus Aran is a bounty hunter,
That's it.
and this is whatever year, 20XDX
Right, right,
or
right, right,
whatever,
right, right.
and said that the Galactic Federation has hired her to go after these space pirates who have taken control of these creatures called Metroids, and they want to weaponize them, and
Right,
so you have to go in there and take them out and take
right.
down the mother brain, and so, but there's no mention of Samus being a
Mm,
woman.
no.
And so you get through the game, you beat Mother Brain, you have to escape the base in time before it self-destructs and kills you with it. Even though you beat the game, but if you don't make it out, you're dead.
You're dead. Yeah, you have the
So you
time.
got to get out of there quickly. And then once you do, depending on how fast you made it out, like it shows you one of like three endings.
Right.
Um, and more often than not, you're going to get one of the endings where either her helmet or her suit comes off, and it's a girl with long
It's a
hair
girl,
and wearing a leotard, and she just waves, and that's it.
and
It's
that's
like,
it. And you're
what?
like seriously
Girl the
though,
whole time?
after watching that character run across the screen so much, it was truly either going to be a girl or a male that was teaching a jazzercise class. I mean, honestly, that kind of running. I want to show you this real quick. So this is what I have. Can you see it on my screen real quick? This is a coaster. I've got NES coasters like that I put drinks on, and this is my Metroid coaster that looks like a Nintendo game. If you can see it right there, that was the duplicate of what the actual cartridge looked like. Isn't that awesome? But this was our Samus Aran right there. You
Yeah.
know, the original game.
But you think of the
Yeah, go ahead.
limitations of the 8-bit system too, and like you didn't really get her full uh armor until Metroid 2 came out.
Well, it's funny too because Sakamoto had said, like, with Nintendo, he had said, like, yes, Alien was a huge influence. It's like, no kidding. Yeah.
What it
Was it? I mean, were you sued? You know what I mean? It's funny. Now, Super Metroid, going into that, because obviously the original Metroid game was pretty straightforward. The music was awesome, because you're just like intently going through it and you die like 1,000 times.
Well, dude, wait, don't sleep on Metroid 2.
Oh, you're going to talk about Samus too? Yeah, 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 yeah.
You
Go
got
through it.
to. You got it's so it's all part of, like, without Metroid 2, there would be no Super Metroid.
Fair enough.
1991, this one came out for the Game Boy, which is extremely rare. You don't have a straight like sequel to a mainline franchise coming out on a handheld system.
Right.
Usually it's a spin-off or like something that has nothing to do with the main title. But this was a straight up sequel, Metroid 2 Return of Samus. And this time her mission was to go and exterminate the Metroids. It was deemed that they were too dangerous to be left unchecked in the galaxy. So she goes to their
Well,
home planet,
hold on, real quick.
SR38.
We should describe what a Metroid is, like before we
Oh,
get
right,
into
right.
it further. So a Metroid is almost like
Jellyfish looking thing.
yeah, yeah, it's like this blobbish thing that has like little claws at the end. And the idea is it could jump on top of you and suck out your life force, kill you, like suck the life out of you. And
Hmm.
so Metroids were a huge value for like being able to take energy and be able to use that energy, but it would suck the life out of anything and everything. And so the idea is that you need to destroy that. Space pirates were after these little creatures, and so your job was to go and destroy. But obviously, plot progresses with that. Right now, you're facing against space pirates who are using for bad. You're trying to destroy them. Mother Brain's part of that space pirate entity that's trying to use those, and that's what a Metroid is. It's like this parasite that grabs onto life and sucks the life out of it. So sorry,
Yeah.
just wanted to
No,
say.
no, you're good. The space pirates wanted to um
Weaponize it.
weaponize
Yeah.
the Metroids. So yeah, they she goes to their home planet, and that's the mission is you take them out. But on this home planet, you find out uh the Metroids that you came across in the first game, that's basically just their first stage of development. And
Right.
then like as you get through the game Metroid 2, you discover that they evolve.
They
They
evolve.
constantly um grow and change from the jellyfish looking things that you see at the beginning to an alpha Metroid, a gamma Metroid, an omega Metroid, and then the Queen Metroid, which is the last one you come across at the very end.
Right.
That's the big bad. And then once you defeat the queen, you come across an egg that hatches, and it's supposedly the last Metroid, and it identifies
It's
you as
not.
mom.
Yeah. It's not the last Metroid,
Um,
by the way.
do I?
It's not the last Metroid, by the way. In
Well,
the end.
no. I mean, it won't be because by the time you get to Metroid 3 or Super Metroid, the pirates wind up cloning it. But anyway,
The last
uh,
Metroid is in captivity.
the galaxy is at peace.
Real quick though, do you remember about the second one? How it introduced not only the Various suit, but it introduced the multiple cannons, right? So I mean, it wasn't just like being able to pew 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 shoot, and then you could do like missiles. It was like multiple different cannons, and then you also had the Various suit, which changed your like, and that was a huge influence for Super Metroid as well, which obviously expanded in multiple different ways, all the different ways you could have weapons and armor.
Well, so you could get the various suit in the first one, and you could get the screw attack in the first one. But when you got them both in Metroid 2, you could also get the space jump in that
Oh,
one.
space jump. All right, gotcha, gotcha, gotcha.
That's the one where you could basically, as long as you're still like doing
You're
your
right,
flip.
because Kraid, you had to have right. Didn't you have to have the Various suit in the first one for Kraid to be able to fight him?
I think to fight Ridley.
Or was it Ridley? Because you're in Norfair, right. Because you had to be able to take the heat. You
Yeah.
have the Various. You're right. You're right. So that wasn't introduced in two. It was one. But I feel like two expanded on your cannons, right?
Two. No, you're the Super Metroids where you had where you're able to go into the like the pause menu and change. Like you keep the wave beam, you keep the spacer beam. You can't have them like all the or you can mix and match them. Like you can have the wave beam and the ice beam together.
In one,
You can turn them
you
on and
could do
off.
that.
No. In Super Metroid,
Oh, you're saying you could combine them in Super Metroid, but you couldn't do it
right?
in the first one or the second one. Okay,
In the first and second one, if you got the ice beam, you lost the wave beam,
okay.
and vice versa. Um, no, the second one also introduced the spring ball and the spider ball. So when you're
Or
in
you're
your
sticky.
right, so when you're in your morph ball form, you
Yeah,
can climb walls and climb the ceiling,
right.
and you can jump from one place to another. So
You remember the part with Kraid, how you could go down at the bottom and you try to do the bombs to try to get yourself over the lip, and it was just near impossible to do
yeah,
that because you really weren't supposed to do it at that point, right? You were
it,
you tried, but I don't know that I ever did it.
I never did. I know it's possible, but I never had the patience to pull it off. But like that's the beautiful thing, and it's worth mentioning on most of the Metroid games, like they're designed in such a way that you don't have to go a certain path to win. Like it's about exploration. It's about
Yeah.
finding one way to another. Like you okay, of course you can't get to the final stage with Mother Brain until you've defeated Kraid and Ridley both, but there's no rule saying you have to defeat Kraid before Ridley. You could do it the other way around if you wanted to. And it's the same way with Metroid 2 and Super Metroid. Like there's so much to explore. You go in there and it like there's so many ways you can beat the system
Yeah,
basically. Like
you can do it.
you can
So
take
long as
advantage of
you're
glitches.
exploring and you're investigating, you could expand your energy tanks, your missile count, you could find certain weapons. I mean, technically, there were some things you could do, especially in Super Metroid, if you weren't ready to be able to do the super run and jump, you could go back and forth and be able to. I mean,
Right.
honestly, if we can jump into Super Metroid, which is
Let's go
I
ahead.
think
We're done with
you
Metroid 2 anyway.
you and I have talked about this as being probably the best game in all history that both of us have ever considered, in
Yeah.
any game
It's
ever.
it's my favorite game of all time.
Me too. And so when you played as many games as we both have played, I mean, that is saying something. For a game that came out in what, 92, 90,
Uh,
something
4.
like that. We
94.
94. All right, so I'm 13 years old. This game was epic to me. First of all, it was the first game who had ever had voice in it at all. The game starts off saying the last Metroid is in captivity. And we had not heard anything like that before, right? I mean, I don't recall ever hearing voice on a video
No,
game
not
prior to that.
realistically, no.
Right. So that comes out and then you're in the game and you are in a place where your ship has landed, and then you've got to hurry to you're already in it, and in a situation where you go back to where you were in the first game, you go down to Mother Brain's area, you're seeing all this stuff, and you're already in the thick of a dangerous situation with
Man,
a Metroid.
I remember that first
Oh,
when you first get back to planet Zebus, or whatever to pronounce it, and it takes you back through the end, like, well, the beginning and the end of the original Metroid. It's like, oh, this is so nostalgic. Like I remember playing this. I remember coming through here the first time and like freaking out because all these things are coming at you from all different directions, and you got to fight Mother Brain, and you got to look out for these
little
like
circle little
fire donuts that are
things,
coming all over the place.
right? And they're
And then
jumping over around them, and you're
yes,
hitting her, and you're hitting
yeah,
her,
you got to
and
get
you're
back.
back in the
Yeah.
area.
Oh, and then you get down there, and it's like, oh man. And then you turn the power on, and suddenly there's pirates everywhere. And you get back to you're in the main game, and like the entire world has opened up to you, and it's like so much bigger than you ever remember it being. Oh my
Well,
gosh,
and then
it's
of
such a good
course,
game.
like there's a couple of notable things for me. One, of course, Kraid being as big as Kraid was, that was crazy. I love the Kraid fight and being able to latch in to the, like, if you knew the secret and you had the ability to sink into the power source and like
You're thinking of a
fight
different
him.
fight.
Oh, which one am I thinking of?
That's not Kraid. That's I don't know the name of the thing, but it's like this big flying thing that, like, you let it grab
That
you,
moves
and
around.
then
So it
you
wasn't Kraid, but you know the one
no,
I'm talking about. You
but
let
yeah,
him grab you, which
and you use your grapple beam.
and you use the grapple beam. You hit the electronics, and it
Yeah,
fries him, and he dies instantly.
yeah.
That was such a cool thing to figure out, because for me, the
Otherwise, that
first
fight
time,
takes forever.
yeah, for me, the first time when I played it, I mean, there's some people who are better at gameplay. I always die a lot with things that I played, and I learned. I just keep at it. For me, I literally got grabbed. I literally clicked the wrong button and am just like shooting off, trying to like use the grapple beam to get away from him. And I hit that thing, it kills him, and I'm like, what? You know what I mean? Like, it was an accident. I literally was using the grapple beam to try to just get away, and I hit that thing, it kills him, and it turns out to be like this secret of the game.
Yeah,
It was so awesome and epic.
yeah,
Do you remember with Ridley, when you first fight Ridley
yeah. At the very beginning.
at the very beginning of the game, and you're like, nope.
Well, you go through that space station, and it's like a scene out of a horror movie. All the scientists are lying on the floor dead.
Yeah.
Like, and you get to the end of it, and well, there's the baby Metroid. Let me go save it. And then Ridley comes out of the dark, and like suddenly you're in this fight, and you don't have anything except like you've got like what, 5 missiles. If no, you don't even have that. You just got your regular gun, and it's just like pew pew pew.
Yeah, no,
Oh,
that was
man.
crazy epic. I think the thing I love about the game is like your exploration. When you finally get to go over to the area to the right from the main, from the where your ship is, and you go into the haunted, you know, area.
Mhm.
That, I mean, it's eerie. The music is eerie, and there's different areas that have different vibes, and you can go into certain areas. I mean, the game is even now, I mean, I played it maybe 3 years ago again, and did a full game walk. I like just played it all the way through, and I beat it pretty quick, because comparatively to the difficulty of games today, hell, even Metroid Dread is freaking hard, by the way.
Yeah, it is.
I beat it, but I mean, it was hard. Um, but I still thoroughly enjoyed playing Super Metroid again. I'll probably play it periodically, I would imagine.
Um, after we had Super Metroid, we had a pretty long break
Yeah.
between Metroid games. There was not a Metroid game released for the Nintendo 64. The next time we saw anything Metroid related was
Prime.
when Metroid Fusion
Oh,
came out. No, well, okay, so Metroid Fusion and Metroid Prime actually released on the same day.
oh, okay, gotcha.
So you
Prime
had Metroid
was huge.
Fusion. Yeah, Prime was on GameCube, and that's a spinoff. That's not part of the main storyline.
Right.
So it takes place, I believe they say, between Metroid 2 and Super Metroid.
Oh, Game Boy
Um,
Advance Fusion.
yeah, Fusion came out on the Game Boy Advance, and then not long after that, we got Metroid Zero Mission on the Game Boy Advance, which was a remake of the original Metroid and a very well done game. If I remember correctly, it's really good. But Metroid Fusion changed things up a little bit. It turns out that the Metroids were uh, holding back a parasite on their home planet called the X parasite, and it was taking over the planet. And so again, Samus is called in to take care of things, and she gets attacked by one of the X parasites, and they have to use Metroid DNA to fuse into her
That's
DNA,
right. She gets
and so
affected.
she has the
Right,
fusion
right, right,
suit
right,
where she becomes basically part Metroid.
right.
Um,
That was
and
clever.
so like it's really really interesting the way that that game works out. Like it's not like the previous games where when you kill something, like a missile show up to refill your missiles or your energy or whatever. You kill something and an X parasite comes out and you absorb it, and that refills your energy and refills your missiles. Something I always thought was funny, you know, Samus she's the good guy, right? But she's going into these planets, and she's going and exploring these places, and her enemies are just animals. They're just creatures that live on these planets, and they're just defending themselves in their territory.
And
And
she
here
kills
she
them
comes,
for
just
free.
killing every last one of them.
Right. Right. Definitely not the prime directive of Star Trek. You know what I mean?
Oh,
So
no.
no, the thing is, like, when I look at the games, first of all, Fusion, the concept of her being affected by Metroids, and I actually thought Fusion came out later, but I remember it now in the advance. Was cool. But what they did with Prime was on the GameCube was so very different because it was first person.
Yeah.
And it was incredible for me, difficult. I had such a hard time playing this game. And I mean, I got through it. I won, I beat the game, but I remember feeling like this was not a Metroid game, based upon the feel and the vibe of that game. When Dread came out in 2021, I got it and I played it. And I remember first engaging that game and number one, feeling nostalgic for both the original Metroid game and Super Metroid. Immediately felt the honor, felt the gameplay. And it's weird going back and playing a game that's new, but feeling you're in that 2D esque way. But honestly, it was very honoring. The other thing with it too was that it was extremely hard. Like I died like probably more than anyone ever who's played it, but I still thoroughly enjoy the game. Have you beaten it and played it yourself?
Red,
Yeah, Dread.
I've played it, but I have not beaten it.
The truth is you get in that game and it's like it requires of you to not just, of course, expand on what your capabilities are with each advancement. It holds you back from being able to advance in a great way. That's one thing that Metroid has always done for all of its game is it makes it where you are limited and you really can't advance to another place. Like thinking about the various suit. It's if you can't go into the lava area, you will die. So you have to have the various suit to be able to go into the lava area for the heat alone. This game also helps you in that respect that you really can't advance or go on until you actually handle the business. And you're thinking about these robots who are attacking you or going after you, which really seem impossible to kill, honestly, unless you read up on it. There's like no way for you to be able to kill them unless you know how to do it. but you can't advance until you get the expansions to be able to go to the next area. So anyway, I love it because it actually seriously accomplished it, but no doubt the hardest Metroid game I've ever played.
That's what I've heard. I so real quick, I was never a fan of the Prime games. I've only played the first one. I never played the second or third because I never got past the first one. So why would I play two or three if I didn't finish one? I've never been good at first person shooters though. Like that's just never like it's not my jam. Although when it first came out, I remember thinking this is so cool because if there's a game that should be made for a first person shooter, it's that or Mega Man, because I mean you're literally somebody with an arm for a gun for an arm, and so it's like why not? You know,
Right.
a first person shooter makes sense. We're running short on time, but I want to ask you: did you ever play Metroid Other M? And if so, what did you think of that one? Because that is a very controversial uh entry into the series.
The one from the Wii?
Yeah,
No.
I remember playing it and I remember not really liking it.
What was it
But
like?
it's it's just not very good. I mean, when it comes to the story and like it tries to expand on Samus's story. Um and it's supposed to take place just before Metroid Fusion, where you know you've got her in Fusion, she's got her AI and
Yeah.
she says it reminds her of her old commanding officer Adam Malkovich, and so Metroid Other M gives you that backstory of her commanding officer, and she joins in with the Galactic Federation uh military or whatever for some mission, and he is like the reason that she can't use like all of her special items is because Adam tells her not to until certain points in the game. So it's not like every other Metroid game where you discover your abilities, like you obtain them because you
Oh,
find the high jump boots or whatever. No, he tells you not to use them. Why on earth? If I had all of these things, they weren't stripped away from me at the start of the game like they usually are. If I've got everything from the beginning, why am I not using everything at my disposal to get straight through this thing?
so he's the
It
Paul
was
Reiser. He's the Paul Reiser of Aliens. You know what I mean?
yeah,
He's
yeah,
like, the corporate man. So there's two things I'll say before we finish out. One is I loved playing Samus in Smash Brothers. My favorite character to play.
yeah.
I would always play with Samus because I enjoyed the idea of being able to do the kick that you would do upwards diagonal. And then
Mhm.
also, if you timed it right and you did a full beam blast, you'd hit somebody right at the edge of the screen and you would blast them into oblivion. So I played Samus and I really pissed off a lot of my friends along the way from playing her in Super Smash Brothers. All right. So the other thing I was going to say is I'm interested because my hope would be that because of the success of Super Mario Brothers and Chris Pratt and just doing a great job and having a pretty incredible movie, him, Jack Black, that they're going to do The Legend of Zelda. Now, let's say that goes well. In my mind, outside of somebody being like, hey, let's do a Donkey Kong, which is fine.
Already happening.
I'm sure it is fine. But for me, I'm like, it's time. If you get the right producers and studio minds behind it, and you have the right director, you have the good voices, you have the epic plot, my gosh, Metroid.
Yeah.
Metroid, oh, in the same.
To write it to where it makes sense and it be true to the game, man. I mean, it could be so good if they did it right. And
Oh,
I understand why they haven't for so many years. You know,
I'm glad
this
they haven't. I mean, I don't know about you, but when I look at Zelda, And I look at Legend. I mean, the excuse me, princess. You know what I mean? Like
That's
when we look at Legend of Zelda and there's not been a movie, great, good. Please don't do it unless you're gonna do it right. Same thing with Metroid. Please, for the love of everything good and holy, don't make Metroid unless you are going to do it true to the game and like following not the M, the what would you say, other M, you
their
know,
M.
or Prime. No. Metroid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hmm.
No, I want a Metroid game that can fully, I mean, just make a movie out of Zero Mission, basically, because that's the original Metroid, but
Yeah.
just with an expanded storyline. And it does it so great. So just don't try to, fix what's not broken. Just go in there and make a decent movie. All right, folks, we are out of time today. That's a lot of talk about Metroid, and it's an expansive um franchise. There's tons to talk about on each one of those individual games. If you would like to hear us talk about any of those individual games, let us know. We'd be happy to come back and explore any one of them, because I mean they're great to talk about. They're great to play over again. um like, and the future is bright. There's still, we know that Metroid Prime 4 is coming at some point, and I would hope that there's still going to be um a future for the 2D version of Metroid. I'd like to see a sequel to Dread, because apparently Dread has sold very well
Hmm.
for Nintendo. So hopefully we're going to get more of that. It's a great franchise. Just it doesn't get the love that it deserves. So again, if you want to hear us talking about any of these games, uh, just as a one-off, let us know. Let us know what you think in the comments. Have you played Metroid, any of the Metroid games? If so, what's your favorite? What's the most challenging for you? We'd love to hear that. And again, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, share with your friends. If you're as geeky as we are and you want to share with them about what we've talked about, all these Metroid games today, then let them know, and so they can get on here and watch the show or listen to us over on Spotify, and that's where you can find us. Landon, anything else you want to say before we head out?
Just a couple of things. One, so I'll share for myself. I am affiliated with Gift for Life, which is a nonprofit organization that works on feeding the hungry and with the World Central Kitchen. If you're interested in being able to contribute to that, check out Gift for Life. And it's a great cause. A lot of people needing food over the world. Aaron also works. I'll let you say, Aaron, how you help contribute
What do I do?
with your job.
Oh, I mean, it's not a big deal. I work for United Way, and I'm with a coordinated enrollment. It's a program where we try to find um, childcare and preschool programs for all the families in our area. There's plenty of kids to go around, and not enough providers seem to want to work together to make sure that kids are getting served the way they should. You've got too many kids who are, especially post COVID, who are entering kindergarten without getting all those social skills that you can get from preschool, or learning speech, and like you wouldn't think that it was such a big deal that for the first couple of years of a kid's life, if they were born around the time of COVID, you're hearing people talking. You can still learn how to speak, but you're not watching people's mouths because they've got masks on,
Right.
and so kids are developing speech impediments because of it. And so it's so important for kids to get into educational programs as early as possible, so that they can learn what they need to know to have the tools they need when they start kindergarten, when they get into first grade. It really does start early, and so many people don't really see that. So
Mm,
yeah, that's
that's
that.
awesome. No, thank you for sharing that. So ultimately, I guess I'd say if you're ever considering about giving or have a thought about giving, World Central Kitchen is great for hunger relief. United Way has always been a trusted place where you can be able to contribute, as well as St. Jude's Hospital. And so I just want to encourage, just if it's a thought on your mind, to think about giving or contributing to these amazing causes.
All right. Anything else?
That's it.
That's it. All right, folks. We'll be back next week with 2 more episodes. We will see you then. And until that time comes, have a great whatever it is, wherever you are.
Good day.